Hey folks, Wrath coming at you with another video. Today I wanted to give you guys an update on round 1 and round 2 of Summit on my main account. Usually the first and second rounds are relatively easy. It's the later stages that become more difficult. Specifically for my account, I don't have a lot of characters that are Immortal 5 fully evolved with X talents, so that limits a lot of the opportunity to compete, in the Summit Top 8, Summit Top 16. This is going to be, I would say, the first video that I have that's a bit more long form, 15 to 20 minutes. It's aimed at giving you guys more insight into the team compositions that I'm choosing, why I'm choosing those specific compositions, who I'm going to be putting those compositions around, and then just a brief glance of potentially some of the gear sets that we're choosing and why they're more PvP oriented. So right off the bat, you might notice that I've got 4 different formations that I use very regularly. I've got a summoner team that I'm showcasing here with Ampu, Daniel, Sif, Doralee, and Dan. Really the focal point here is Ampu in a light gap set, and I think I've got Daniel either in a light gap set or a madness set. Ideally, I'd have him in a light gap set, but at this stage of the summit rounds, I'm not really too focused on regearing everybody. So the next team that we're using here is a team who's tank focused, using Panda and Wamagon and Teresh. Really what we're trying to do is get Teresh to throw Panda or Wamagon behind the enemy lines. And that way, if you've got him in a light gap set or a resonance set, they'll start to ult a bit faster. So lots of teams and lots of folks try to protect their back line with a heavy meat shield sink up front. So if you can bypass that and get a significant damage dealer like Panda or Wamagon behind them, you can really cause some damage there. The third team that I rely on pretty heavily is a Vanguard focused one because of Ares and his utility with Rage. I've got an entire separate video that I published earlier from one of my clanmates. Shout out to Rev Oracle, who theory crafted a significant portion of how to build Ares. And if you guys are interested, feel free to visit that video. But ultimately, it's a Vanguard-focused team where they are put up against a team composition that does a lot of hits. So either a hunter team or more likely what I like to use is against an assassin team, right? So the more that Ares gets hit, the more that his rage builds and he ultimates. And because of that, he's just going to be popping off all the time. So that's where you have him built in utility gear, but also a significant amount of his damage comes out from the fact that he's just popping off all the time. And finally, the fourth team that I like to use is one that's based around hunters with Ryzeris. And the fourth team that I gravitate towards is one that's hunter focused with Arcadia, Ryzeris, and Rebecca, with Miranda and then a tank up front. And when I use the word tank loosely, but really a damage soaker. So somebody like a Leo or a Wamagon. So you may notice that over the next 10 to 15 minutes, there isn't an energy team. I don't really have characters that are significantly evolved or the gear sets available to them that can do well. So yes, I've got Nord, yes, I've got Jaina, but they're too low evolved rather, that they just can't do the tasks that I need them to do. And so ultimately I will have a fifth team that is energy focused, either with Jaina, Nord, and another energy hero, or Luke. But Luke at the moment is very lackluster on my account. I haven't put any time and energy into him ever since I got him. He's there at Immortal and not doing anything else. But once we get Nord up a little bit in terms of evolutions, once we get Jaina up in evolutions, we can get Nord functioning both as a tank with a damage reduction pair of boots, and then also as a damage dealer, having him in a Marauder set going off all the time. So stay tuned for other videos that you'll see coming up. Also, what you'll notice here right now is some of the characters that I had, like Dominique, for example, I've been pushing endless battles with, and so I had some Bugmaster gear that I needed to remove. So let's switch gears a little bit to talk about which team compositions I decide to pick versus the enemy team compositions. So you'll notice that I'm doing a lot of mirror matching simply because my characters are at a higher player level. So a lot of the tank teams I'm putting up against tank teams. If there is an energy team that they have, I'm definitely putting my tank team against them. Summoners, I'm almost always matching against summoners, unless there's an assassin team. If the enemy units have an assassin team, I'll either use a summoner team against them, or better yet, I'll use my Vanguard team. The Vanguard team will survive much better because of Rage from Ares and Barog, but the summoner team just confuses the enemy assassins team, especially if they don't have Coraxia. The assassins end up targeting your summons, and that just distracts them way too much and allows you to kill them fairly easily. The third team composition that I use very heavily is the Hunter team, and the Hunter team I'll use either against an enemy Vanguard team or against an enemy tank team, especially if there isn't a res or if there isn't a Teresh on that team. And so if there's just tanks that are staying in the front line, then that just allows Rebecca, Viserys, and Arcadia to do massive amounts of damage to the tanks. Switching gears over to my Vanguard team, like I mentioned, I'll use my Vanguard team against assassins predominantly. Sometimes I'll use it against the Hunter team, depending on the evolution levels. And so that pretty much wraps up, I would say, all the team compositions that I use. You know, one or two outside of that if there's niche ones, but things will change, especially as we get into the top 16 for Summit. Things will definitely change as we get into the top 8 for Summit, because a lot of the folks who are there have significantly more progressed accounts than I do, and so I've got to take chances. Whereas a lot of mirror matchups that I have right now do fairly well, at those stages of the game, the mirror matchups actually put me at a disadvantage. So when that time comes, I'll make a separate video to talk about, you know, some of the risks that I'm taking and why I'm taking those risks to hopefully subvert the outcome. So I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of this video. I know I've been babbling probably for the better part of 7 minutes. Let me know what you guys think and how you guys are currently doing in your Summit rounds. See you on the next video. Oh, before I forget. Yes, there's a lot of changes coming in. The massive patch notes were dropped. I typically don't cover those. I'll cover them once they do go live with specific use cases of what I think is exciting and interesting. But that's to be coming out at another day. And then today is the last day of the free-to-play challenge that the content creators have happening. I'll issue another video on that tonight. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Again, hit that like button. See you guys on the next video. Cheers.